Welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. This is a United States of America immigration update. This one is pertaining to those who will be seeking asylum in the United States of America, as well as some crazy fees that are about to be instated, or at least they're being suggested by the Republicans. Let's get right into this without further ado. Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you know someone struggling with immigration issues, seeking to understand what's going on, or caught up in a situation, give them two advice. One, watch, listen to this video. Two, contact a professional immigration attorney and stop listening to people off the streets. They don't know what they're talking about. U.S. Republicans propose charging asylum seekers $1,000 per application. Imagine running from your country because it's on fire and running to a nation who is supposed to be an ally to your country. And when you get to that door and you're knocking, please help me, save me, I'm gonna die. They say to you, you got $1,000? If you got $1,000, you could file some paperwork and then we'll see if you're allowed to stay. Mind you, most asylum seekers come with very little, if anything at all, in their pockets. But this is the proposal from the Republican Party. Republicans also want to impose a giant fee of, get this, $8,500 US for anyone who is wanting to sponsor a child to get them out of federal custody. Wow. Federal custody would mean you got your son or your daughter is here. You know, they've been picked up by ICE. They are in federal custody pending whatever the outcome may be. And you want your family member out of that situation. Well, before they said that there would be no way out. It's kind of a part of Donald Trump's whole campaign. No more catch and release. Well, they're now suggesting that with a $8,500 US payment, that family member could be released. Republican lawmakers are seeking to give US President Donald Trump broad powers to charge erroneous fees to migrants who are seeking asylum in the United States, suggesting a minimum cost of $1,000 per application. This could very well turn into $1,100, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 per application. The figures appear among a slew of new or increased immigration charges that are being considered as we speak by the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee as a party seeks to usher Trump's domestic agenda into law. Around 54,000 foreign nationals were granted asylum in the United States of America in 2023. 54,000 granted asylum. Asylum meaning, again, you were running from whatever is going on in your country. You have no place to go. The United States of America opens its doors, takes you in because they are allies to your country, or not necessarily allies to your country, but they have a good heart. So they rescue some people. 54,000 foreign nationals were granted asylum in the United States, according to the latest figures from the Office of Homeland Security Statistics as of April 29th of 2025. Do you have questions about the biggest topics and trends from around the world? Get the answers right here. Now, the leading countries of origin include Afghanistan, where $1,000 US is the equivalent of 2.5 years of wages. Again, the leading countries of origin includes Afghanistan. And in Afghanistan, if you got $1,000 US, that is the equivalent of 2.5 years of average wages. And then there's Venezuela, where it would take about 3 months on average to earn that much. $1,000. So I guess you could say that Venezuela is doing bad, but it ain't doing so bad compared to Afghanistan, right? President Trump and House Republicans are committed to restoring immigration integrity, enhancing national security, and and reinstating in and out of control administrative state, the committee said in a statement alongside the release of the text. Judiciary, like the other budget setting panels in the House, is contributing its own section to a massive bill that Republicans want to pass to codify Donald Trump's agenda of tax cuts, immigration curbs, and boosted energy production. They probably stand to make a whole lot of money off of this. Kind of like the $5 million gold card that Donald Trump invented for someone who wants to bypass the whole process and just go straight to purchasing citizenship for the United States of America. Like he said about the gold card, this is not for the average person. This is for someone who is not an American who has lots of money to invest in America. That person would then be able, or people would then be able to come to the United States of America. And they're usually people who are in business, who will be bringing power to the United States of America, will be creating jobs in the United States of America. If you look at it one way, or it could just be a rich terrorist who decides, I'll spend $5 million and get a couple of my people into the United States of America, whichever way you look at it. So part of the text gives Donald Trump increased power to change huge fees to asylum seekers and other immigration applicants as a condition of remaining in the United States. The bill sets a minimum $1,000 figure in what would be the first time in U.S. history that refugees have been charged to apply for asylum. It was understood before throughout history that refugees were people who were in desperate situations needing help. It's like somebody is knocked off their oxygen tank and all you have to do is refill the oxygen tank so the person could continue to breathe, and you're standing there like, hey, I'll put some more oxygen in your tank, but you're gonna have to pay me like $1,000. And they're like, I don't have $1,000. And they're like, well, move to the back of the line. Let somebody with $1,000 come forward and pay that $1,000 and get this oxygen. It's a desperate situation, right? It's always been understood that refugees were in desperation. So they were never charged to file these paperwork for their asylum cases. Filing the paperwork basically explains why you're running away from your home country and what you're hoping to achieve in this new country, right? What is the intricate details of you having to leave, etc. Well, now they will have to pay to explain, or could have to pay to explain. It's been proposed, it's put on the table, but given how this immigration campaign, or not campaign necessarily, but how this immigration climate has been, I'm willing to bet that all these will be written into law pretty soon. Now, it would also establish a $1,000 fee for parolees. A parolee is somebody who came into the country, registered with ICE or registered with U.S. Immigration, Homeland Security, etc., and then they were released, but they were given permission to chill out here in the U.S. until your case is called forward in court to be decided. In the meantime, they're just hanging out in the United States of America. Some of them are given the legal right to work and pay taxes while they are here. Not all of them are. Well, they would attach a fee to that now, which would be $1,000. 1,000 US dollars, you will be released. And a US $550 price tag for every 6 months for work permits. That means the work permit will no longer be free. Every 6 months that you are here, you will be having to pay $550 for your work permit to continue to be able to work to support yourself. Now, of course, everybody is going to be thinking, well, if I can't afford it, they're going to send me back because I'm just sitting here, and how am I sustaining myself? But if I am working, It only makes sense to save up some of my minimum wage money and pay that $550 so I can continue to be allowed to legally work and show them that I am willing to work to support myself. In other words, then nothing and absolutely nothing should be free. And there would also be a US $1,500 charge for applying to adjust your status to get a green card in front of an immigration judge. Wow. So, boy, oh boy. Now, crucially, Republicans actually want to impose a giant fee of $8,500. Yes, you heard that right. $8,500 for anyone who is wanting to sponsor a child to get them out of federal custody, with a US $5,000 returned to you years later. They didn't say how many years yet, but years later, only if that child is not ordered to be deported or if the child does not miss their court date. So you'll pay $8,500 up front, get your child out of federal custody. They'll no longer be in ICE holding. They'll be back home with the family. In the meantime, they're waiting for their case to be heard. In the event that their case is heard and they are allowed to stay, a couple of years later down the road, out of that $8,500, you will receive $5,000 back. Once you get the $5,000 back, just understand that $3,500 of that will never be returned to you. Now, if in the event that a judge decides that your child or family member that you got out of federal custody should be deported and they have been denied the ability to stay, your $8,500 just went down the toilet, flushed. You will not get a penny back. That's a price that would stop nearly all sponsors, says Aaron Reichlin Melnick. These names. If we do the history on these names, we would have a comedy session. Aaron Reichlin Melnick, a senior fellow at the American Immigration Council, as they posted on social media. Now, the goal is to stop nearly all sponsors. The legislation also proposes funding for 10,000 new immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE agents, and Homeland Security criminal investigators. As this pertains to my Jamaican audience, remember they put out a list, and the list had by numbers how many people have already been issued deportation orders by country to leave the United States of America. Jamaica was on the list at 5,320 Jamaicans who were already given deportation orders. Well, you don't have to be there to get it. The judge has signed it. The paperwork is sealed. It means all you have to do now is show up to your appointment. You will be held and you will be deported. So what has happened, as we have predicted, is they probably don't have enough ICE immigration agents to go about all over the land on foot looking for all these Jamaicans, not just Jamaicans, but Haitians, Cubans, all others from other places. So these people are going to be on the run. And a lot of them are going to actually try to outweight the Trump administration, hoping that when a new government takes over in future election, that they will change the immigration system from not being so hostile and give them a chance to come to the front of the line and say their names and then go to the back of the line and continue to wait their turn without being deported. But until then, they run the risk of, if they are caught by these ICE agents, they will be deported from the United States of America. As a matter of fact, right now, most of those Jamaicans have not been caught and have not been deported, which tells me that they are on the run. And ICE is looking for them. And the big politicians have decided that we need 10,000 more new immigrations and customs enforcement agents, or ICE agents, and Homeland Security criminal investigators, so we can round these people up who have gone on the run. It would also fund the transfer of all Federal Trade Commission antitrust actions to Justice Department, removing a key regulatory power from the independent agency. Now, that move was proposed in another bill earlier this year and enthusiastically endorsed by Donald Trump's his efficiency czar, tech billionaire Elon Musk. Also, on Monday, the White House announced a crackdown on sanctuary cities. That defies Trump's hardline immigration policies as the president closes in on his first 100 days in office. They are now going after the sanctuary cities. It's amazing to see that some cities are still standing firm and calling themselves sanctuary cities, risking being defunded, getting no funds for that city, also risking being raided by federal agents, ICE agents, because once you're called yourself or is recognized as a sanctuary city, simply means you will not comply with the latest immigration rules, laws, and regulations, or blatantly put, you will be trying to shield, hide, and help those who are considered to be illegal and need to be deported. Therefore, you will attract more ICE agents to your city than anywhere else. Now, Trump's spokeswoman, Carolyn Leavitt, said in the administration that they would name and shame those cities who are accused of blocking efforts to protect American communities from criminal aliens. Once they want you out of here, you are labeled a criminal. The Republican leader will sign an executive order later on Monday directing officials to publish a list of jurisdictions that obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws, she told reporters. Today is Tuesday. I am guessing that was done late yesterday evening. The announcement came with Donald Trump celebrating major progress in honoring his election campaign promises to stem illegal border crossings from Mexico. Illegal border crossings have almost come to a complete halt. The figures soar to an all-time high under Trump's Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, and the Republicans won the White House in part on promises to combat what he repeatedly claimed was an invasion of criminal migrants. Guess what? There were some criminals among those people, but majority of the people that were coming in have been proven to not be criminals, just people looking for somewhere better to live, raise their family, and live a prosperous life. However, you know how that goes already. One apple spoils the whole bunch, so there have been those who are criminals. Even to the Jamaican community, a handful have been people who were wanted for murder in the Caribbean or in Jamaica itself, and they have been deported or are on the run, and ICE is looking for them to deport them back to the Caribbean so they can face their charges there. So when Donald Trump says an invasion of criminals, he is not all the way wrong, because there are criminals among those who were invading the borders and coming into the United States of America. We here at SouFLoTV made the prediction that if the if the Biden administration did not stop the flow of immigrants or migrants coming across that border and bringing them into the country, they would lose the election. Because even those who did not like Donald Trump were uncomfortable about so many people coming across those borders, for the simple fact that we were unable to vet who was actually coming into the country. If you had been in the United States of America around the time of 9/11, a day which we will never forget, then you will see the importance of vetting who actually comes into the country. Imagine having another 9/11. Imagine having another 9/11 in multiple cities simultaneously planned. Right. And we don't ever want to see anything like that again. So it wasn't about not having sympathy and empathy for the immigration or immigrant community. It was more about safety for those of us who live in the United States of America, and it had nothing to do with politics until it turned out that way. So his popularity has since plunged, though. Donald Trump's popularity is at an all-time low, according to polls, with more than 40% of Americans saying that they disapprove strongly of him, according to a Washington Post / ABC opinion poll. Donald Trump suggests that pollsters and new organizations should be sued for fraud over this fake news. In other words, they're lying. My numbers are up. My ratings are high. They're making fake stuff up, and they should be sued. The U.S. president will this week be hailing his achievements in his first 100 days, claiming success on the economy, on foreign policy, and on government efficiency, as well as on immigration or migration. We have done a separate video from this video here on this channel called 100 Days, Donald Trump's first 100 days in office, which we will upload shortly after posting this video. Please stay tuned for that one. So, Leavitt noted that 95% drop in encounters of undocumented migrants at the Mexico border, from 140,000 to about 700 in 12 months from March of 2024, when Biden was still in office. The numbers started to reduce. American borders are now secure because of President Trump, she said. He has restored the rule of law, enforced our immigration laws, and defended Americans' sovereignty. Donald Trump's election campaign's rhetoric about taking on the alleged hordes of rapists and murderers resonated with many voters who are concerned about illegal migration, immigration, and being overran by people who were just simply criminal-minded, not just mothers and children looking for a safe place to stay. Now, as part of the drive to deliver on his pledges, Republicans in Congress are targeting sanctuary cities, which typically prohibits local officials from telling federal agents about undocumented immigrants if they are at risk of deportation. In other words, you could hide out in those cities and be illegal and be protected. Lawmakers hauled the mayors of 4 such cities, Boston, Chicago, Denver, and New York, over the coals. They hauled them over the coals at a hearing in March. They dragged them at a hearing in March. In a sign of the emphasis the administration is placing on immigration, placards lined the White House lawn, each displaying the mugshot of someone that the administration called an illegal alien. So they are now putting people's faces on big placards and putting them on the lawn of the White House. We are looking for these people in these sanctuary cities. The word arrested was printed in capital letters above each photo and below the crime of which they were accused of. Some of those are from first-degree murder, sexual abuse of children, distribution of fentanyl, all the derogatory things that would make anybody say, get them the hell up out of here. Donald Trump also sent troops to the Mexican border, imposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada for allegedly not doing enough to stop the illegal crossings from their borders over into the U.S., and also designated gangs such as Tren de Aragua and MS-13 as terrorist groups. But he has butted heads with judges, rights groups, and Democrats who say that Trump has ignored constitutional rights in rushing to deport these migrants, sometimes without the right to a hearing, which has resulted in people who should not have been deported being deported. Tom Homan, Trump's point man on border security, told reporters on Monday that we have the most secure borders in the history of this nation. The government has not been releasing comprehensive data in deportation rates, but the Migration Policy Institute said that it appears on track to remove about 500,000 people this year. That's fewer than 685,000 deportations that were recorded in the fiscal year of 2024 under Biden. In other words, Donald Trump's administration is on track to deport less than what Biden deported in the fiscal year of 2024. Holman argued that comparisons were bogus since Biden's deportation numbers included people who were removed at the border, and most of those people were not being stopped before actually getting into the country. Now, well, that is there to be argued with. I think the most important part you can take away from all of this is that the immigration situation is hostile in the United States of America at the moment. If you are an immigrant looking to run off, as we would say, or live here without legal documents, I don't think this is the time. I think now more than ever before, a deterrent has been set. My advice to you would be to try somewhere else, right? The bill set a minimum $1,000 figure in what would be the first time in history that refugees would be charged to file for asylum. $1,000. The $8,500 to get your family member out of federal custody, and $3,500 of that will never be returned if they are allowed to stay in the U.S., and the whole $8,500 will never be returned if they are deported. Then there is the work permit, which once you are a parolee, you would have to pay $1,000, which would be an established fee for a parolee, which means you would be let into the U.S. and allowed to work in the meantime while you await your case being heard until your name is called up. And $550 price tag for a work permit every 6 months to continue to be able to work to sustain yourself, which you will have to show that you are able to sustain yourself, or the outcome could be that you are deported because you are not able to sustain yourself, right? And the $1,500 charge for applying to adjust your status to a green card in front of an immigration judge. Those are the takeaways from this morning. Pass this on to somebody else. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. And I'll catch you on the next video. Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new video goes up on SouFLoTV, every time we do a immigration update on SouFLoTV. I'll catch you on the next video. I'm out. Peace.